Fox 7 Focus.
Tomorrow marks 40 days of the government shutdown, the longest in U.S. history. As Republicans and Democrats fail to come to an agreement, concerns grow for federal workers, SNAP benefits, and air travel. In this week's Fox 7 Focus, Congressman Lloyd Doggett joined us in studio to discuss the impact on Texans and beyond. Congressman Lloyd Doggett joining us for the Fox 7 Focus this week. Thanks so much for being here. I know you just got back from Washington, D.C. Of course, a lot going on over there. The 38th day of this government shutdown. What's holding this up?
Very troubling. Well, I think what's holding it up is an unwillingness to sit down and talk about how we achieve a bipartisan resolution of the health care crisis that has been created by legislation that will lead to about 15 million Americans losing their access to a family physician. I'm particularly concerned about people here in Central Texas who've relied on the Affordable Care Act, like John out at Skinny's Barbershop, who a couple years ago had a brain tumor discovered, built up $250,000 in bills, said but for the Affordable Care Act, he would have been in nowhere land. Now he's facing a big increase in premiums. Many other people facing much larger increases in premiums, and we'd like to see something done about that in connection with his government spending agreement.
Do both Democrats and Republicans have to share blame here?
I think the blame is a less concern to the American people than getting a resolution of what to do here. What I do know as far as Republicans in the House is that we've had about 6 weeks of the House not even convening. And that's not any way to work things out. There are other appropriation bills and other actions that could have been taken. So rather than a blame game, I'd like a solution game. And I do think that it will take President Trump's personal involvement to see this get resolved. Speaker Johnson mainly is an errand boy for him. I'd like to see a meeting with leadership and the president to find a way to work this out. He's indicated that these elections pretty clearly put the blame on Republicans, but what we need to focus on is not blame, but a resolution.
When you go to the White House website, it says Democratic shutdown, and it has a timer. What do you think of that?
Well, I think it's not surprising that the fingers are being pointed both ways, but we need them pointing together. And if the president will accept the invitation he received again this week from Democratic leadership to meet to find a way out of this, I believe there are a number of Republicans that want to see the health care crisis that they've created resolved. After all, the statistics show that there are more people relying on these Affordable Care Act plans in Republican-dominated states like Texas than in Democratic ones. And I think that's one of the reasons that one of the loudest MAGA supporters, Marjorie Taylor Greene, has been speaking out since her own family relies on these plans. And she knows what happens if the premiums are going up 75, 100%. This is not an affordable way to access medical care that's so important.
Amid this shutdown, there's been a lot of conversation regarding SNAP benefits, which is going to affect millions of Texans. Just this week, we were out there at one of the food banks where people were ultimately being turned away. What would you tell those families?
Well, I think our Central Texas Food Bank does an incredible job. Not only what they distribute, where you saw it, but in working through churches and community organizations all over Central Texas. They are now spending about $1 million a week to try to make up for this SNAP decision versus $1 million a month they were spending before. They cannot sustain that over a long period of time. Well, let's look at SNAP. In 61 years has never been cut off like this before. This was an arbitrary decision the administration made to build up the pain and try to get a solution the way they wanted it. I think about the veterans. Since we've got Veterans Day coming up, 100,000 Texas veterans rely on SNAP.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy saying there's going to be a 10% reduction in capacity at 40 of our locations. We now know those locations. What does this mean for people traveling? Do you expect there to be problems come Thanksgiving when people are trying to go and see their families?
Well, what it meant for me in traveling this past week back and forth to Washington were delays, and I think we'll see even more of that. That's before this Duffy order came into effect. I'm pleased that it doesn't include the Austin airport, but travelers in and out of Austin will be impacted as near as Dallas or Houston and cities across the country. Again, this problem could be resolved by simply assuring that our air traffic controllers and our TSA people are paid during this period. There was a motion to do that in the Senate that was rejected by Republicans. I'd like to see it adopted. I'd like to see all of our federal workers paid for their service. And there is a law that says when this shutdown is over, they will be paid for not being there, which just really doesn't make any sense. We ought to continue paying them until this matter can be finally resolved.
In the past, you've brought up the air traffic controllers and there being a possible problem. So
Yes.
Are you sitting here now saying, I told you so in a way?
Well, the problem, to be clear, on air traffic controllers here in Austin is a long-standing one. It has gotten worse since the Trump administration took over. We now have 27, less than half, 27 of the 60 air traffic controllers that are supposed to be assigned, according to the FAA, to Austin. And I am concerned on heavy traffic, bad weather days, about the shortage out there. So we had such a big problem before the government shut down. So just a couple of those air traffic controllers don't call in for reasons of frustration or reasons that they're really sick. And we have a long time ground delay. And that's what's happened a couple of times.
Congressman Lloyd Doggett, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.